Health, they say, is a state of emotional and physical well-being and not just merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Hello there and welcome to Wellbeing, one of your favorite program on Spectrum Television. Of course, you know on this program we bring you health information, making sure that you are alive and healthy because as they say, health is wealth. Last week we talked about hypertension, causes of hypertension, and also the risk factors pertaining to hypertension. Today is just going to be a continuation of what we did last week. But of course, you know that on well-being, we don't just tell you the stories and the symptoms. We also like to come with the facts and figures to let you know that we have done our research. And also, this show is all about you and how we can ensure that you live a healthy and a better life. Like I said earlier, that we discussed on hypertension. But before I go to the second part of today's segment, I would like to read out this basic fact from WHO, that is the World Health Organization, concerning hypertension to you, so you would know how serious this conversation is. Now, do you know that an estimated 1.28 billion adults aged 30 to 79 years worldwide have hypertension? Now, most two-thirds living in low and middle income countries. Now, do you also know that an estimated 46% of adults with hypertension are totally unaware that they have the condition? Do you also know that less than half of adults, 42% with hypertension, are diagnosed and treated? Also, approximately 1 in 5 adults with hypertension have it under control. I'd also like you to know that hypertension is a major cause of premature death worldwide. I don't know if you've ever been in a scenario where someone said, I just saw that girl, oh, she was very, very healthy and fine, and today she's gone. Oh, more, this world is small, oh. That guy I just saw on the street working and looking very happy. Today, the guy is dead. What if that guy had hypertension and he did not diagnose it or treat it? I'd also like you to know that one of the global targets for non-communicable diseases is to reduce the prevalence of hypertension by 33%, that is between 2010 and 2030. I said earlier that this is a continuation of last week. We started this intense conversation with Nurse Esther Johnson on hypertension. So I would like to just, I'll go on a break right now so I could give you an opportunity to go pick your pen and your diary, because trust me, there is always something for you to learn on well-being. Do stay tuned. So Abbas, many thanks for joining us. Let me just do a quick recap for those who are just watching the show today. We are talking about hypertension. Now, what is hypertension? Hypertension, otherwise known as high blood pressure, is when the pressure in your blood vessels is too high, that is 140/90 mmHg or higher. It is common but can be serious if not treated. People with high blood pressure may not feel the symptoms. The only way to know is to get your blood pressure checked. Major things that can increase the risk of having high blood pressure. Number 1, older age. There is every possibility that as you get older, your blood pressure increases. Number 2, genetics. Number 3, being overweight or obese. Number 4, not being physically active. Number 5, high salt diet. Now, if you pay attention in Africa, you know there is this a skit. I don't know how many of you have seen it, where they say that in Africa, when you want to add salt to a food, you can do it and wait for the ancestors to whisper to your ear, stop. So in Africa, we rarely, in fact, I feel guilty. We rarely measure the salt. We just carry the salt, look at the rice, weigh, and then pour it in. In Africa, not like in Africa, but most times people add salt when they're cooking maize. People add salt when they're eating pawpaw. People add salt when they're even frying plantain. There are people that literally add salt to everything. They add salt to drink gari. So this has nothing to do with the poor and the rich. So high salt intake can also be a major cause of hypertension. And also, do you know that drinking too much alcohol can also lead to high blood pressure? Now, lifestyle changes like eating a healthy diet, quitting tobacco, and being more active can help lower the blood pressure. Some people may still need to take medicine. Blood pressure is written as two numbers. The first, systolic. Now, this is a number that represents the pressure in the blood vessels when the heart contracts or beats. The second, diastolic number. This represents the pressure in the vessels when the heart beats between beats. One of the major things that you have to find out is your blood pressure. So one of the things that you can ask people, I said earlier that when you are around somebody, maybe you went on a date, stop and ask your boyfriend, babe, have you checked your blood pressure? Normalize asking your girlfriend. Apart from asking genotype and all, how far, what's your blood pressure? Have you checked it? When you go to visit your parents, don't just give them money and, wrapper and all. Take them to the hospital to check how they are, so that you will not come back and say, I just left mama in the village now, and they just called me that mama is gone. Do you know if mama's blood pressure was high? Let's look at some of the risk factors that we discussed last week. Number 1, excessive salt consumption, a diet high in saturated fat and trans fat, low intake of fruit and vegetables, physical inactivity, consumption of tobacco and alcohol, being overweight or obese. In addition, properly, today in our conversation today, we are going to talk about the complications of high blood pressure. What could possibly happen to somebody who has high blood pressure and has not checked? Joining us on today's show is Nurse Esther, and she will be guiding us on this topic.
Complications of hypertension, alright, especially those who haven't gone for a blood pressure check, those who are not under treatment. Now, the first is stroke. Like I said earlier, what in this our native land, Akwa Ibom State, right, called epomia. So somebody just half of the body, the person's body is paralyzed. So that's a very common complication. Stroke, vision loss, kidney failure, alright, aneurysm, memory problems, heart attack. These are common complications. I think I've talked about kidney failure, right? These are very common complications of hypertension. Now, I'll explain how this occurs. Remember that hypertension occurs when the force of blood on the blood vessels is unusually too high. Now, when the blood pressure of an individual is like, let's say, 150/90 and above, right? In short, it's too high when it's from 140/90 millimeters of mercury and above. But then, now let's look at 139. Let's look at, okay, 149, right? 149/90, blood pressures like that. It is excessively too high, really elevated. 160/100, those are very elevated blood pressures. Now, when that force hits upon the blood, it's to a rupturing of the blood vessels. Now, look at how it affects organs. When it ruptures, vessel ruptures in the brain, right, it will lead to this hemorrhagic. There are types of stroke, right? And in this one, we call it hemorrhagic stroke because there is a leakage. The blood was supposed to flow, the retinal artery then ruptures. Alright, it leads to blurred vision. This is also a complication, blurred vision. Now, note, not BLOD, not blood, blurred, BLURRED. You're not able to see properly. And then we have also renal failure, and then now when the force of the blood on the walls of the artery increases and then causes a rupture, at that point the heart is trying so hard to compensate itself. The heart is overworking. It could lead to cardiac failure, and also same leads to heart attack, also known as myocardial infarction. So these are the most common complications of hypertension.
Thank you so much, Nurse Eric. Please go for a proper blood check, because you can wake up one day and you could become blind. You could wake up one day and one part of your kidney fails. I don't know if you've been in a church here, and then you get people say things like, "I just woke up and then I could not see with these other eyes, and God intervened." Yes, we acknowledge the presence or the power of the Holy Spirit in our daily life, but you also have a role to play. Look at your life right now. The amount of food that you're taking in is, I mean, when last did you even eat a good, a proper balanced diet? If you know that you've not eaten well, you have not exercised, and you are always taking in salt, please go for a blood checkup. I'm sorry, your high blood pressure checkup, so that you know where you stand. One question that everybody keeps asking is there a cure for hypertension? So I'm going to turn the spotlight now to Nurse Esther to tell us what's the way forward. If someone comes down with hypertension, how can they take it away? And if they can't take it away, how can they manage it so that, it doesn't get the best of their lives?
Oh, sadly, there is no cure for hypertension, but hypertension can be managed by the methods I listed above: lifestyle changes, healthy diet, regular exercise, and medication. But for you to say there is that one-time cure for hypertension does not exist for now.
It's so sad. There is no cure for hypertension, but it can be managed. Now, if you're already down with hypertension, that is not a time for you to feel bad. There are ways in which you can manage your hypertension by, eating the right diet, taking the right medicine, and above all, please go see a doctor. Do not really rely on herbs, because most times people say drink this, and no two people's case is the same. So just because someone did this and it worked for them doesn't mean it will work for you. Remember, our systems are quite different. So if you have hypertension, it can be managed. There is no cure except, God decides to heal you. So go to the doctor and follow the instructions given. And you can actually prevent yourself from coming down with hypertension by stopping unhealthy lifestyle that you are currently, living or, doing right now. My next questions will be, when we talk about salt, I've said it over and over, and she actually confirmed it, that salt, again, what role does salt actually play, in developing a high blood pressure in a human being?
All right, so regular screening. I'm talking about regular screening, right? Now, this will lead me to say that everybody is advisable is advised rather to go for a regular screening, and this for adults for like up to 18 years and above, right? Regular screening is advisable at least once, right? 18 years and above, let's say to 39 years, at least once a year. Now 40 years normally express themselves at this age, so 40 years and above you have to check more often. So if 18 years is checking once a year, so yours could be like up to 4 or 5 times a year. And then people with family history, all right, people that are obese, people that from those risk factors I mentioned earlier, yours have to be quite more often. At least once a month is even advisable for those that fall into the risk factors of this disease. Now I'm talking about some misconceptions, because there are lots and lots and lots of misconceptions. I might not mention all, but these are a few, right? So the first is that people often think that hypertension comes up with signs and symptoms at the early AM stages, which is not true. I said that a person can be living with, in fact, I heard of a story about somebody just died of headache. I know a good number of us hear of stories like that, right? This person had headache and he died. He was just complaining of headache and he died. So we often think, okay, it's spiritual. No doubt, a lot of spiritual things like that happen. But then, have you even asked the person? Have you ever gone to the hospital for once for a medical checkup to know what? And if you ask, in fact, if you want to find out, they'll say that's the same way the father died of headache. It has been running in the family, headache, 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 and we all call, we quite try to make a kind of sympathetic story about the whole thing, which might be true or might not be true. But then, this disease is a kind of disease that kills so many people by headache only. Like I mentioned, headache as one of the signs and symptoms of a severe hypertension, isn't it? Good. So people often think that this disease must reach a certain stage where the hypertension, all right, shows. Like I mentioned earlier, renal diseases, kidney failure, heart diseases, and the rest, before they know that okay, this person has hypertension, which has to be debunked. All right. The next misconception is that hypertension occurs only to the elderly. So young people don't have hypertension. I've heard of stories about young adults of 21 years, 22 years, 20 years, even teenagers of 19 years. Yes, they do come up with hypertension. So now, this is not as a result of something special, but then hypertension can happen to anybody at any time. Like I mentioned earlier, those who fall into the family history, all right, of hypertension, family history of hypertension probably runs in genetically, it runs, right? Definitely they come up with this disease. So it's not just for old people or older adults, even young adults also are predisposed to this disease as well. There's another misconception that I heard, that when you start taking your hypertension medications, you have treated it for life. Now, this disease cannot be cured. Alright, hypertension is a disease that has to be managed for the rest of your life. And the best way of management is not even the medication. The best method of management of hypertension is your lifestyle modification. You have to stop what you eat. I mentioned sodium, right? Reduction of sodium intake. That's reducing the amount of table salt you take, and then reducing fatty and fried foods. A lot of people that crave for shawarma, pizza, junks, it leads to an increased cholesterol level, thereby leading to hypertension. And also I mentioned sedentary lifestyles, from the car to your workplace, back to the car, into your AC room, everything. You're not doing it, or you have mates all around doing everything for you.
Oh wow, what a detailed explanation of hypertension, how you can avoid it, the risk factors, the causes, and how it can be managed properly. Thank you so much, Nurse Esther, for the insight into this disease. And I hope that you've learned one or two things from our discussion today. Please try as much as possible to go for a proper high blood pressure. I literally asked my colleague now, how far have you gone for your high blood pressure check? And he actually said, oh yes, that he actually has a machine. So in case you're scared of going to the hospital, you can actually get the machine, and it's done. And because of time, I would have showed you how it's done. I mean, it's very, very simple. In the olden days, they would literally have to pierce you with one very huge needle. But now in the 21st century, it's done in such a smooth way that you won't even know when the needle goes in. Thank you so much for being a part of today's show on Wellbeing. My name is Emedion James. See you guys same time, same station. Do have a lovely day, and please go for your BP checkup. Goodbye.